Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Terry at Holding Your Space. And if you're catching this today or later, welcome. This is Shara Mullen from Australia.
Yes, with an Irish accent, but I'm here now.
In Ireland. Yeah. Via Ireland. So, and full disclosure, Shara has been my therapist, and I've learned so much from her in the past. And this has been was a true awakening to work with the body and the mind in transforming trauma. So we're so honored to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So Shara's a qualified counselor. She studied tapping and also TRE, which is tension trauma releasing. I think, is that right?
Look, it keeps changing its name. I haven't been involved with the association for a long time, but it used to be trauma releasing exercises. That was the theory. Where it is now, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. But it is amazing. So and you live in Australia in a beautiful place.
I do. I'm very, very lucky to live where I live. I live out on a farm out of town. If anybody has heard of Lismore, New South Wales, almost 2 years ago, we had what they're calling a mega flood and destroyed our town pretty severely. And but I wasn't affected in town, and it's very nice to be in the country and reminder that I don't want to be living somewhere where it's noisy. So yes, you won't hear much this morning unless the geese wander down and get a little bit loud. Other than that, it's very quiet and I love it.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Hi, Annie Bear. I'm just going to say hi to a few people. Heather is here with Indigo Jaguar Intuitive Arts, and Lori, um, and Flowing. Hi, how are you? Jennifer W. So as people come in, um, anyway, I wanted to say thank you so much for being here because this was a huge change for me. Heather's asking, is TRE similar to EMDR?
No, absolutely not. So it is an opportunity for me to hi, Indigo. This is great to be talking to people live. This is cool. This would be a first. I've been interviewed before, but not had these questions. So I'm mindful all the time when I've done a training. A bit like if anybody listening knows when you watch or follow a recipe for the first time and then you make it your own. Okay, so what I discovered through training in TRE, trauma releasing exercises, which is, to be fair, originally was a series of exercises that set in motion or encourage the body to move involuntarily. So that's what it's about. But the moving involuntarily is natural to the body. So if we get a fright, we will shake unless it's been socialized out of us or, been frightened out of us, and we freeze. If anybody remembers who's watching or listening that they have been either very cold or very hot or anything like that, where they feel their body is moving involuntarily to regulate itself again, to come back into homeostasis, that is very natural. So the longer I'm away from my qualification, the less I talk about the qualification, because it's not relevant. I don't use much of my training. I know that, and I meet people often who come to me and they're already tremoring constantly and can't stop it. Or people just lie down and I may talk to them and create the conditions for them to feel safe enough, and they start moving involuntarily anyway. So that's nothing to do with my training. I just know that involuntary movement is natural to the body. So I want to be mindful of that I won't talk about my qualification or TRE because it's not relevant to me anymore, because I just do it differently. But EMDR is actually about and I can't remember exactly what it stands for because it hasn't stayed with me. But again, this can be done by yourself. EMDR has a lot of research done on it, and it's about using both sides of the brain, monitoring or including both sides of the brain when you're thinking about something different. And as I understand it, it scrambles, changes, gives opportunity for a different outcome in relation to that memory. So it's a very specific technique, but I don't work with specific techniques that are researched. I work with the person who's come into the room and whatever they need. But it is about, as you say, bringing relationship back into conversation between mind and body, not just mind, not just external, but actually having that internal conversation with yourself around how you feel as well as what you're thinking.
Yeah, and, it's a little bit of heaven because at the end of, our sessions, we had time to release that physically, and then, because, you also, have studied Buddhism, you do an yoga nidra, and that meditation, process of releasing and then, acclimating into our bodies was just beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lovely thing to do to actually for me it's a bit like the movement and the discovery of where we're holding tension in the body, because at the end of the day we can call it trauma, but medical
Yeah.
people call trauma when there's a major change, injury in the body, and we call trauma something psychological. But at the end of the day, your body is tense, it's still holding a memory. So that involuntary movement gives opportunity for that tension to come away. So that's like the surgery, the change. And then the yoga nidra, or the body scan we do at the end, is like the opportunity to heal, to calm, in the recovery room, where there's nothing else to do but allow. So if you imagine at the end of a oh, I don't know if it's your internet or mine now, it's just whirling around and you are gone and it's still live. So I'm going to keep talking, and then hopefully Terry comes back on, because I imagine if I'm still live, people who are watching can still see me. So the idea of the body scan is that if you're at the end of an assembly line and various whatevers are coming at you, to be put into, like, maybe like a postal service, to be put into slots. The body scan gives the idea to no more changes, no more information to put in the slots. It just settles them into those places. And I'm not really sure what to do about the fact that Terry's dropped out. If somebody else can either tell me what's going on, because I don't know. Looks like I'm still on. Let's see if she's messaged me at all to say what's happening. Nothing so far. Okay. Everyone can see me and hear me, but I can't see anything from Terry.
Hi, I'm
Here.
back.
Here you are. Phew.
Never happened before. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Oh, cool. That's cool. I talked for a little bit, and then I went to see if you were want to message me and see what happens. But anyway, there you go. It was only a minute or two.
Oh, yeah, I was busy trying to get back in. So talk about trauma. So let me just take care for a
It
minute
is.
and let go.
It's so interesting though for me when I work with a fair few people all over the world who on the internet, and it is interesting for me to go, what's going on energetically when something drops out. I'm always intrigued that it's not just technology. What is that about? It's very, very cool to realize how powerful we are, and that if our internet drops out or is very strong, what's that about?
Yeah, so that brings up a really good, thing that I love that you do is, talking about breath work and, just abiding in our bodies. And
Yep.
we talk a lot about that. We have a daily meditation group that meets, and, we talk about abiding and being aware of how we're feeling.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's the reality, that's the truth, which I love to teach people about, knowing what's going on in their body. Because if you're in a conversation and you're now aware that you've had a reaction to what's been said because your heart rate is increased, your stomach's turning over, your throat's clenched, whatever it is pretty much those three areas. The bottom of the gut, the chest, around the heart, and the throat are those three places that will tell you. We'll get shoulder stuff happening as well, but it's usually related to the fact that the stomach's grabbed, the chest is grabbed, and now the shoulders are trying to come around. you know, or they're doubling his earrings. And but that's the reality, is that's the reaction we've had. And it's wonderful to know, because then you can say to the person, oh, I've had a reaction. My heart's going now that I've heard that. And it keeps keeping the language around talking about yourself. And it's also, as I say, the truth. Whereas the thoughts that we can have, man, we can make up some crazy stuff in our thinking. But the reality is down in the body going, for whatever reason, it could be right now I feel in danger or threatened, or I'm being reminded of a time that I was. It, you know, but still the body is acting like it's real. And they're the skills I most love to teach people, is how to stay with that, not calm it down, get rid of it, move it on, just stay with it and pay attention to it. Because the biggest thing we've missed out on as children is attention. Neglect causes trauma, not abuse.
Oh,
Bad
let's
things
move into
happen.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
let's move into that, because um, talking about neglect is huge, I think, for all of us. And is this us neglecting ourselves? Is this others
Mhm.
neglecting us? How do you feel that comes in?
Yes. So if to explain why neglect causes trauma, not abuse, if something bad happens when we're little and the caregivers that are around us take care of us, physically look after us, stay with us, give us what we need, whether it's a holding or food or water or rest, whatever it is, take care of us, stay with us, give us that attention to really get to know what we need in that moment, and tell us, not your fault, it's okay, we'll take care of you. Then we now go into the world after that incident going, okay, bad things can happen, but I'm looked after when they do. Phew, I'm sweet. Not only I'm not worried about bad things happening, I now am really aware that I get looked after. So there's a
Mhm.
confidence that can come with that. You know, some people are not terribly well equipped if nothing bad happens in their childhood, because shit happens, right? So they get that
Yeah.
care. If something bad happens and then there's no care, they're ignored. They now know bad things happen and nobody takes care of me. Now they're dreading bad things happening. Now you've got a loaded system that's hoping nothing bad ever happens again, because they do not like that feeling at all. They've no idea how to handle it. Nobody took care of them. Nobody taught them anything. And
Right.
children will always go into blaming themselves first because it's the safer option. If you realize as a kid your caregivers are the boogeyman, they're the very thing to be frightened of, what a terrifying world that you would live in. It's much easier for the kid go, it's me. They're okay, it's me. And then, as you say, we go on into adulthood, still continuing to blame ourselves. And when we haven't been taught how to be taken care of, we don't know, Terry, how to take care of ourselves. We continue to do what we were taught, you know? So it's very basic stuff for me. It's not terribly oogity boogity and deep, and we can name all these fancy things. We learn, or we don't, you know? And so that's the thing that for the biggest thing that I want to teach people when they're with me is what it's like to be given absolute attention. Because one of the, just to go to this for a second, one of the biggest things I see in my practice is people coming and telling me that they now have letters after their name. ADHD, autism 1 and 2, PTSD, all these letters after their name. They're getting qualified left, right, and center. And I'm going, and it all comes down to a dysregulated nervous system. So I've actually have clients now who are saying, I have no more autism symptoms or ADHD symptoms. Now, I'm not saying that's possible for everybody. I know we can be wired differently, but when people are paid full attention to and learn how to do that for themselves and get a group of people around them that pay them attention and they know how to pay attention, some of these symptoms drop away, because they're a developmental stage in our growth that they didn't get to go through because they didn't get the attention.
So, how long do you think that growth cycle is that this can happen to? Like till 26 as a young adult, or 60? I don't know. How long
Look,
does
yeah,
that
good
go?
on you. No, no, same. And I just, as I told you before we came on live, I'm still finding out about who I am. You know,
Yeah.
and I think the thing to say here is the wonderful thing about recovering from trauma, if we want to use that language, from healing to getting to know yourself, is that we can actually decide who we want to be in this world. Now, we got to work with our limitations. We got to work with our gifts or whatever. So when is that developmental stage? May it be the rest of your life that we're finding out who we are now. And is some of that we want to hang on to? Is some of that a reaction that we no longer want to react to the world? We want to respond. And if we want to respond, how do we want to respond? So then we get to decide who we are, you know?
Yeah. And that's curiosity, right? I
Oh,
think you have to feel really safe to be curious about things.
we do, Terry. That's it in a nutshell. You can, if I don't know enough about it, but I remember reading that the part of our brain that lets us know we're fearful is also the part of the brain that allows us to be curious. So we can't be both.
Oh.
It can't be both. And so we can sometimes be aware we're transitioning between the two. Like we can feel some awareness in our body that we're starting to be anxious, for the want of a better word. We're stimulated, triggers, whatever, and able to stay curious with that before we dissociate, before we've missed it, and now we've gone into a reaction. You know, there's a transitioning period that if we can catch it, then it's lovely to go, oh, what do I want to do here? Can I calm this? Now stay with it, keep it company, or is it too big and I've missed it and I'll have to deal with it later? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when we get to those parts where we're aware that we're being stressed, what do you suggest for
Yeah. Great question. So it is all about, first of all, catching it whenever we catch it. You know, I sometimes work with men who are gorgeous and honest enough to tell me that they're close to being arrested. You know, they're behaving very, very poorly, and they're only noticing well after they've gotten angry that they were angry. So wherever we catch it is a win. Wherever we catch it is a win. I always want to say that to people, and it helps to not give ourselves a hard time. Whether we catch it at the thought, which is the ultimate. If you had a thought and gone, oof, oh, that's not a good thought, right? Perfect. Okay, that's the way you want to catch it over time to build to that. 2, remembering 10 years ago that you did something really nasty, right? Wherever it is. But the best place, which you just asked the question, is when you get the stimulation, what do you want to do about it? Because that's the reality. That's the feedback from our system that gives us the knowledge that we have the opportunity now to become wiser than we were, or just do the same old thing every time. Okay. So the 2 things I say to people, try and keep it simple. It doesn't matter what order you do any of this, is breathe through your nose. If you breathe through your mouth when you are distressed, it's like getting into the passenger seat of your car when you have, I don't know, a spider goes through the car, or yes, indeed, Annie, when you observe, you have a choice. Absolutely bang on. It is all about choice. It is that word. That's exactly right. So if the terrain on the outside of the car has gotten very, the road's rugged, or it's raining or whatever, or there's something going in on the car, and you were to get in the passenger seat, that's what it's like when you breathe through your mouth, when you're distressed. So you must always breathe through your nose, because that keeps you in the driver's seat, keeps you in control, keeps you managing what's going on. We're designed that breathing through your nose calms you down. Breathing through your mouth sends you into fight and flight, sends you into stimulation. Okay. So it's very important that whenever we can notice it, to breathe through our nose. Okay. And out again, if you can, out through your mouth if it's stronger. The other thing is to observe, like Annie said. What are the senses? What senses can you pick up on? I encourage people pretty much to notice what you can hear and what you can see, to remind yourself of where you are. And it's also very important that is where you'll find out if the danger is real or perceived, as in perceived being that you're triggered by something in the past. Okay, so if you actually look and hear and go, right, the reason I'm feeling distressed is there is some danger. Now you have the opportunity to yeah, good on you. Thanks, Morella. What a beautiful name. Yeah, no, it is, and it is hard. And I love that you say that it's hard, because if it was easy, everybody be doing it and we'd have no trauma. Okay. So
Yeah,
I
right.
really think it's all right to acknowledge that these new skills are hard, because, as I say, there's an automatic reaction, panic, go into dissociation, they're automatic, and it is hard, but in time, they're the automatic things that we do. Breathe through our nose. Notice what you can see and hear. And if you can see, as soon as, so there isn't a danger externally, we now know it's just an internal thing that's going on. The seeing and hearing automatically tells our nervous system, oh, I'm not back in that time when that happened. I'm here. I'm here. And automatically the system starts to calm down. Then you can go back to noticing how you feel if you want, and just keep breathing and ride it out. I know that might sound lame, but actually any emotion, any energy, any sensations in your body that have been created by a response, an emotional response, passes. They always pass. Okay, if you've been in an accident and you've broken a leg, that pain's not necessarily going to pass as quick. It'll pass whenever it passes. And we must remember that one day we will pass. One day we will pass. It won't always go away. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Now, interesting, Indigo, that you're saying deep breathing. That's great for you. I love that you know what works for you. But I do suggest with people, don't force deep breathing. Breathe wherever you're at. Meet yourself wherever you're at. Okay. Try not to have that. Your intention when you're distressed is to get rid of the distress. The intention must be to stay with yourself, to just stay with yourself and keep yourself company as it passes. So you're not trying to get rid of anything, because then that's part of the pattern of there's something wrong with you. Get rid of me. Get rid of that part of me. Get rid of my distress. It's okay to be distressed. It's like, just stay with yourself and give it the time that it needs to pass, because it doesn't always go immediately. I'm thrilled for you that you have that. It doesn't always go immediately. For me, it can be quite a while, but I just go, it's all right. However long you need, love. However long you need. Not going anywhere.
And when we're hurt as children or as young adults or whenever we don't have the coping skills to deal with them, it's hard to recognize that we're feeling that way, isn't it?
Look, I love that you've said that, because we live in a world that says, you know, and I can debate this statement, but I don't like the expression, we need to love ourselves first. I don't like it. I don't think it's relevant. We sometimes need someone to care about us. I wouldn't be where I am if somebody hadn't loved me before I loved me. I wouldn't be where I am if I hadn't got the care externally before I could give it to myself internally. When a baby's born, does it go, oh my God, no, don't look at me. I always want to make them from New York in my skit. The baby's from New York. Don't look at me already. I got to love myself already. No way, you know? No, the baby needs us to love the baby. And over time it learns. And I think we need to learn to co-regulate more than we need to learn to self-regulate. If we're going to reconnect as human beings, I think it's okay that we learn to co-regulate. We learn to be around another nervous system that is calmer than ours, and we can calm. Or that we can be there for somebody else when our nervous system is calmer than theirs, and we can help calm it down, because we regulate to the nervous systems around us. So it's very important. And there's only 3 ways we get help. We give it to ourselves, it's offered, or we ask. You know, and sometimes cool, you know, like Indigo can deep breathe and get herself through it. That's fantastic. But I'm gotten really good as I've gotten older to get myself the care that I need, and know that helps.
Yeah. Annie
I
says,
love that, Annie. That's exactly right. Accepting that one day will pass has made me brave. That's right. At any moment we could be gone and go, right, what do I want to do in this moment? Do I want to go, I'm dying, or go, do you know? Come on. So go, Annie Bear.
Yeah. Heather says the deep breathing helps me with that. I can get focused and handle whatever situation I'm in. I breathe in deeply once and then I release via my mouth.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's lovely to know it works. Yeah.
Yeah. We do that before meditation too, just to release.
Yeah.
A 3 cleansing breaths. And then it's always inhaling and exhaling through the nostrils. Because it does increase your oxygen level.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, what's lovely though, what you're talking about here in these groups that you're in, you're talking about finding what works, having routine, having ritual. These are all amazing things to do, you know, like what is the care that we do, whether it's self-care with others, is that in AA, they told me that they would love me until I could love myself. Oh, see, gorgeous. Thank you, Laurie. That's fantastic. Yep. We need that. Need that care outside. Yeah. We do, because that's the thing we missed out on. And, you know, whatever medicine it is that we need, hopefully never pharmaceutical, but we don't want to be giving them any more money. But we whatever we want to do, we need to know that medicine is the thing that we need, not to tell ourselves to get over it. I need to get over my loss. I need to get over. And we need to get what we missed out on.
Yeah, yeah, and all around us, the media shows us in, constructs from the time we're born, right? That, get over it. You don't need to cry. You're not in pain. You're fine. You need to look this way. You need to feel this way. You need to travel this way.
That's right. That's exactly right. And at the same token, they're also saying, don't get happy, buy something. We don't really want you to be well, because then you'll stop consuming.
Yeah, what's up with that, man?
Yeah, what's up with that? The 1%, forgive me, the 1% want us to keep spending so they can go crazier.
Yeah,
But that's fine. But it is up to us to go. I can't remember who said it before. It might have been Annie, about the choice. When we stay with the feeling. The way I'm going to do my life review and say I hit myself in the whole damn thing. Yes, I love it. This is it. So, and it is a lovely thing to actually realize that being responsible for yourself is not just about being responsible for poor behavior. It's being responsible for what Annie's saying. It's responsible going, I'm choosing my life, not you. And you're not going to determine what I buy and what I put in myself. I'm going to decide with my group of mates who help me make good decisions,
yeah, yeah, and, having a sense of community,
Oh,
is huge, I think, and it's amazing on YouTube how that's opened up,
yeah.
community, especially for people that think differently, and we don't often have people around us, even in our friend pool, no matter how much they love us, that have the same interests. So,
I'm very blessed in that way. Pretty much always have been. I've spent 44 of my 54 years in domestic violence. And I've to date, except for when my children were younger, and are now completely estranged from my children. I have no contact with them, because they're living in their father's world, albeit temporarily. And I have made the choice to go, I want to have a happy life. So even my children, you can go wherever you want to go temporarily. I'm going to have a happy life. But my friends, Terry, I have had so many amazing friends. I'm having dinner tonight with, I don't know, 10 women. There's 20 or 30 of us in this group locally here. We see each other, talk to each other all the time. So in person, I have incredible, incredible friends. Luck and romance, I have yet to be successful with family and romance yet, but that's all good. It's all how you end. Who knows? We don't necessarily determine the start. Even the Buddhist in me knows that we don't really always, we're reliant on these parents we're born to maybe give us the love. So yeah, but I'm determined that this life ends well.
yeah. Oh, Morella, yeah.
Oh,
Grieving the
darling.
loss of a husband, taking
Oh,
your time. Yeah,
exactly right. Take however long it takes. That's exactly right. Oh, you're gorgeous. I feel for you. It's a big thing to lose a love, It is a big thing. And I hope that when you think of him, I'm sure you are, it's an interesting thing when you remember someone who loved you and who you loved, that sadness can be soothed by, the love when I think of that person. It's different to the loss of someone who's behaved poorly, where you just want to, let's not give that any airtime, but you want to give as much airtime as you can to that. Yeah. So I love that you
yeah,
had that love, and I'm sorry that you've lost it, Marilla.
yeah. Sorry about that, Morella. Um, Henny Bear says, "For every hour I spend with people I like, I need at least an hour in nature or by myself." Oh, we just had this conversation before we got on about, needing that time alone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really good to know who you are. Thanks, Annie. It's really, I was just talking to Terry before we came on live, that I recently did a conference, and we had a New Zealand woman there who said that psychologist was heaven to believe, she said, because she was a Kiwi, and I love to do accents in case you didn't notice already, that there are 4 personality types, but we're a blend. We're all a blend of these things, and again, we can learn to be a certain way. But I've recently discovered that my outgoingness, my playfulness, my enjoyment of people has been forced on me, because I grew up in a home where my older brother was painfully shy, and my younger sister, and he was quite ill a lot, and my younger sister was cerebral palsy. She's still alive, so she's disabled. So I was the one who was sent out to go and buy stuff at the government stores for books and stuff, traveling for an hour on a bus, lining up with adults at 11 years of age with the list of books, and I was the one who answered the phone. I was the one who did all these things, and thought that's who I was. And I'm discovering more and more I'm much shyer than in nature, because I'm always known, as I said to you, that I'm an introvert. I'll want to be like any in nature on my own if I've been overstimulated. I'm not an extrovert in that way, but it's a lovely thing to find out more and more about our intrinsic nature as we get older, more and more about our preferences, which is what I love working with people, is saying we're not just removing your trauma, we're not just removing the tension or the karma, whatever makes sense to the person. We're also giving opportunity for you to get to know who you are and what bits would you like to keep and what bits would you like to get rid of, which is really, really cool. Because a lot of people say to me, I'm like this because of my mother, because of my father, blah, blah, blah. And they think they're set in stone, And I, a little while ago, watched Garth Brooks's documentary, and the American country singer. And I didn't realize he'd given up he was the most famous person in the world at the time. And he gave up his career to rear his children because he realized he didn't know him. And his parents hadn't done that to him, so he wanted to give his children a father. And his wife and him had separated at the time, so they shared custody, and he remarried, whatever. But he said to his children, if you find something in yourself that reminds you of your parents that you don't like, you spend the rest of your days pulling it out. And if you find something you do like, you hang on to it with all you got. And it's so true. If we do not like something in ourselves that reminds us of our parents, oh my gosh, I have had to have so much surgery to get rid of my mother out of me. A very violent, evilly behaved woman. Worked so hard to get that stuff out of me, to find that I was nothing like her behavior-wise. Nothing like her. Very like her on fashion and gardening and making stuff. Very like her in that way, but not like her in personality. It's, it's lovely to have discovered that I'm this gorgeous, easygoing, precise, lovely human that isn't nothing like her at all.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, Jessica Lynn. Jessica says that's very true about parents. Yeah. Everybody likes your accents too.
Too cool. And the thing to know about intergenerational stuff is we can concentrate on the intergenerational trauma. We can, add the trauma at the end of that phrase. But I like to say things like intergenerational load. And in that load, where's the intergenerational wisdom that you would like to draw on? So that we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We actually choose, what would I like to take? As a Celtic woman, I have got wisdom. We decide. We can. Once we've got the skills, we can decide which are the bits that we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really, you didn't have to be a narcissist. Go, Jennifer. That's exactly right. You can let that go. No, thank you very much. And narcissism is about not having the guts to lift your game. It's about wanting the others to drop theirs. It's the best definition I ever heard of it, is not having the guts to lift your game, right? They want you to be as shit as them, come down into the pit with them and be as horrible as them. They don't want to lift, and that's why it's very important who we're around. You don't want to be around a narcissist, not just because it's difficult. It's because you could end up like them. I hate narcissists. Oh, well, there we go. There's a little bit of narcissism, right? Okay, so you've got to be careful.
Yeah, crabs in a barrel, right? I love that, Jennifer.
That's exactly right. We look at the 5 people that we hang out with most, and they're a reflection of who we are.
Interesting. Yeah, they really are, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah. What about, where does that fit in with generational trauma, or does it matter?
Where does what fit in with
Well,
generation?
I'm sorry,
You're right.
ancestral trauma, like if say if your grandmother was in the Holocaust, or your,
Sure.
and then, passing down that physical,
Yeah.
nervous system that's,
Yeah. So
already in fight or flight, kind of.
yeah, so yeah. So the thing is, it is interesting again why talk therapy doesn't always work, because what we have in here, we do not know what it is. Okay, that's why I love working with the body. And I, as I said before, I teach people how to move involuntarily, externally. We always are internally. Like we can be very anxious and no one would know because it's all going on the inside. And then people who know us really well will know a look, or they'll know the breathing speed up. So, it's we can't get away with it all the time. But I teach people how to allow that involuntary movement that's going internally to start express itself externally. And we'll literally ask questions like, can you remember being born? I've worked with a woman in Canada who was having a really rough time with her daughter, her 18-year-old daughter, because the daughter was anxious. She was anxious. They didn't know where it started and ended. Just the two of them were anxious all the time. And so this woman told me about this horrific birth that she'd had of her own self being born, and then the horrific birth that she had of this child. So I asked her to say to her body, do you remember being born? And she had massive movement and great big breathing, and it was like an exorcism, this energy coming out of her at a rapid rate of knots. And this was all over the internet. And she's like, wow, I had no idea my body remembered that. Yes, it did. And then we looked at the birth of her child, and she did another big exorcism. End of anxiety in the two of them. That was it. Within an hour, gone. Right. So that's something that's not necessarily intergenerational. That's something that the body doesn't remember. But then if somebody says to me that they're Jewish, that their father or grandfather usually was in Vietnam, straight away I'm going to intergeneration. Somebody tells me they're Irish. Woo! Big warning that there's going to be intergenerational stuff. Oh, my lordy. It's so bad. I think the Irish are the most traumatized white nation in the world. And then they've gone to
Um,
populate your country and Australia, where I live, and all the places. Just passing down that trauma. Just keep spreading the love. But it is worthwhile saying, can you ask your body, what does it remember from past lives? Just even saying, what does it mean to me to be Jewish? And out it will start to move. Yeah.
yeah.
And it just gives opportunity. Because so First Nations in the Americas and Native Americans say 7 generations this stuff holds in for, right? But the
Yeah.
other good thing to know is when you're in a bloodline, double, triple, totally, you don't know exactly. Oh, wow. Oh, Annie. Oh, my lordy. Aren't you gorgeous? But
She's
the great thing
beautiful.
about that, Annie, is you've got all that native wisdom and all that Celtic wisdom to draw on as well, which is absolutely amazing. But yeah, you have to work out which bit is with. That's exactly right. So the great thing about being in a bloodline, though, is that when just like we've inherited the trauma, we also have an means that we are affected by our bloodline, which means we can affect the bloodline. So my greatest gift to my children and to my mother and my father and their whatevers and my grandchildren is for me to make peace, because that affects the bloodline behind me and in front of me. So my mother is better off for me having found peace. And I would love to see her before I die and squeeze her and say, you tried real hard to F me up, but you weren't successful. And it's okay. Die well. I'm okay. Die well. I'm okay. And for my father, and for my children, even though I've decided not to communicate with them verbally, I'm communicating with them all the time by making peace with myself, and they will feel that. I want to be the homing beacon for them of why is it silly? Yeah, exactly. And to be calm in myself so that they feel that energetic and that intergenerational calm come from me, that happiness come from me, that wisdom come from me. Whatever they do with it is entirely up to them. But that's the power we have when we're in a bloodline, we're all in a bloodline, even if we hadn't made children there behind us, to come home to ourselves, to make peace with ourselves. And I think that honors our ancestors, because there's people in our bloodline who had no choice but to dissociate. They'd no choice but to freeze. They'd no choice but to fight. And we have. So I don't think we honor anybody by going, oh, it's just the way it is. This is in my blood. Why did they go through what they went through for us to be doing the same thing in peace times? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not fair. And the thing is to be aware that when you are a woman, you are pregnant, you with a girl, you now have your grandchildren in you, because your girl is born with the egg. So now you have 2 generations in you. And if you are starving and that's not reconciled, that means your grandchildren will have food issues, because they were being made in a body that was starving, and it will not remember. Why does it have food issues? Why do we have that grandchild could be a boy or a girl, but why do they have food issues? And it can be, as I worked with a woman once who her grandmother, leaving war-torn Eastern Europe with 3 children that all died of starvation.
Oh.
And then she went on to have more children, and she had food issues and she did not know why.
Yeah.
Because her grandmother did, right?
That makes so much sense. Yeah. Yeah. And I have family that was in the Holocaust, and yeah, that's in our family too.
Yeah, and it's horrific stuff, but it's being able to go, this is not mine. So an expression that I ask people to use sometimes when I'm working with them is, can you say to your body, can you please let go of what's not mine?
Yeah, I love that. And then when people are curious, when you turn on that curiosity, like, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
What is going on here? And kind of breathe into it. It makes such a difference, but also it does make a difference to the circle around you and the circle around them and the circle around them.
Yeah, we're very powerful to the energy around us. We are. And I think it's a wonderful thing that happens too. If we catch it at the thought, we can go, oh, okay, that's not a thought I want to have. What do I want to do with that now? Do I want to sing a song, look around me, say chocolate cake, whatever works? What do we want to do? But if we catch it at the sensation, I have found so many times that by staying with the sensation, it's enough that it calms. And we're like, okay, I'll just carry on with my day. Or we can often get that wisdom, because the body-mind relationship is the wise relationship. Just staying in your thinking is just knowledge. Just staying in your body is just feeling sorry for yourself and addiction, right? We've got to have the conversation with both. And then we can often have that lovely intuitive, I'm sure many of the watchers will go, oh, I know what's going on. And it's a lovely thing to go, I've got that meeting today. Such a buddy said something the other day, and I'm reminded of the past, and go, oh, that's what it is. Okay. Because it's a lovely thing to know. And then we act in that place from wisdom, from choice, from loving. And when we include our body, of course, we're including our heart, and wise choices come from the heart, not just from the thinking cognitive mind. And then, of course, that compassion can come across. Because something I just want to mention too, that I'm a great one for giving people who tell me that they're an empath a hard time. Okay. Oh, you're an empath, are you? Right. Well, what do you want to do with it? Okay. You got a superpower. What are you going to do with it? Said to me, I'm an empath. It's so hard for me. Oh, please. What are you doing with this skill? Okay. So an empath, as far as I'm concerned, is somebody who's taking on the energy of others and holding on to it. What are you doing with that? Why are you holding on to it? You're not helping anyone, right? Whereas if empathy is neither here nor there in the great scheme of things, if you can't be compassionate, if you can't now ask, how can I help you? Including yourself, how can I help you? Compassion is an act. How can I help you? You don't have to have empathy to be compassionate. I have no empathy for my children. I didn't have a loving parent. But I have an enormous amount of compassion. I don't know where they're at. I don't get it. But I have a huge amount of compassion. So compassion is that action What can I do to help the other or self? Okay. So we got to watch what energy we're hanging on to and using the skills of breath, of attention, of noticing to allow this energy that we've now felt and let it pass. Because we don't really know what another is feeling, not really. We might think we do, but we don't really.
Yeah.
The point is to be aware you've just been given information that maybe someone in your circle is distressed. And what are you going to do about it? First of all, you got to take care of your own awareness of the distress and let it settle. At the same time or before you respond to the other person and check on them.
Yeah. Well said, because I feel like, we hear about things going on around the planet, and that does bring up a fight or a flight response because there's chaos and agents of change everywhere, aren't there? All over
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
So watching that, it's really easy to feel the fear of the planet,
Yeah.
and but to
Yeah.
observe it and give compassion and send love, send money, whatever you can do,
It's
right?
exactly right. Do
Yeah.
something, and it is the basis of woke culture now, is to feel sorry for themselves, all just going with the feeling. My feelings are more important than logic. So I'm going to identify as a walrus, whatever it is, so that I don't actually have to do anything. Can you come? It's every few months. You're cute. Oh, you're gorgeous. Yeah, whatever. Love it. You're too gorgeous, Denny. But it is like my Irish mother used to say to me when I didn't want to eat my dinner, think of the black babies. How can you not eat your dinner now and think of the black babies? And I go, Mammy, can I send them my dinner in an envelope? I don't want to eat it. But it was my smart arse way of going, how am I helping the black babies? What did you want me to do? So there was this thing of, of course, the Irish guilt. She wanted me to feel bad, and I was born with no guilt. Yes.
Good for
And
you.
then, she piled it on, and then I got rid of it again. So and guilt is a very selfish emotion. So I'm not interested in getting myself into that. But yes, there's an action. And the thing is, the great thing about asking, can I help? If the other person genuinely goes, no, I'm okay, then you go, great. At least I asked. And the more compassionate we can be, that when somebody is behaving poorly, they are telling us, I'm distressed and I don't have the skills to know how to handle it. If we also get distressed and now we're in an argument, we missed the opportunity to be compassionate to the other.
So true. And that works on so many levels with our relatives, if they're acting out, and if they have all those designations behind their names of ADD, ADHD, and
Yep.
yeah, maybe they do need a dose of adrenaline, that that little jump if they wait till the last minute to do something. But just knowing that and seeing that and saying, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
This is it. And we grow out of pain. We grow out of discomfort. That's where we grow, because when we're in pain, we've contracted, right? We've contracted, and we're only ever really contracting or expanding. We don't want to be
Yeah.
expansive all the time. That's just too intense. Like, Annie, get back in nature and settle into contraction and by yourself, and then expand again. So expanding and contracting. And we're doing that anyway. And it's lovely when we heal that we choose more when we expand and contract. Whereas when you're traumatized, when you're tense and stressed, that's all just a reaction. Okay. So I think that's a very loving thing. We live in a world where enabling is in vogue, because again, it's buy them something and save them because we don't want them to feel like we did. Why not? We grew from there. So when my kids were little, they were great sleepers. But if they, every now and again, and if any of you are parents, that the very night that you need them to go to sleep because you need time on your own is the night that they won't go to sleep, right? That's how it works, because they're regulating to your nervous system. So that's the very time. And it only happened a couple of times when they'd call out, "We're scared." And I'd shout out, "I'll give you something to be feckin' scared about," and I go to sleep. And they'd go to sleep like that, because it was like there was the boundary. They knew I was serious and they were now safe. Mom's had enough. Boom. They'd go to sleep. So when my kids are very much woke, my 16 and 18-year-olds, they're in a world of, you don't understand. We had a bad childhood, or daddy was horrible. Yeah, but you're living with him. Great choice. And they, woe is me, woe is me. Can I have letters after my name? And so me saying, no, I'm blocking you on all channels so that you can't talk to me is my way of going, you want to feel sorry for yourself? I'll give you something to feel sorry about. Your mother doesn't want to know you. Sit in that pain. Because I love my children enough to have them sit in their pain, because that's where they're going to grow from. Wow. They're not going to grow by me saving them. They're not going to grow from me going, yeah, talk to me anyway, and hand down all the awful things that are happening where you live onto me, or ignore me and pass it on to me. I'm not helping them. I'm helping them by going, nope, all yours. I've taught you. Now do what you want to do with it on your own time.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, I guess I've learned so much from having kids of what I didn't have, what I want to have, and where I want to go. I mean, they're such great teachers, and understanding that that boundary there has been huge too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other word that's not talked about enough, Terry, is standards, is actually setting a standard, setting a yes, this is how I want to be treated, not just always a boundary, which is a no. And then we only find out when the boundary's been hit that we're like, oh, whereas if we set a standard, for me as a therapist and as a human, I want to work towards, not just away from. Right? We get more results when we work towards something and not just away. So if we're building the standards of how we want to live, building our yeses, how we want to be treated, what abundance we want, then that creates an expansion that naturally pushes out the yuck anyway. You know, so that's the thing. We can't just always be healing and on the bad stuff. What are we replacing it with? You know, we got to fill up the yummy and work towards what we want.
Yeah, definitely. Jessica Lynn wants to know, she says she's becoming a social worker, clinical social worker, and wanted to learn somatic therapy techniques. What would you recommend learning to help my clients?
Look, at the end of the day, if you want a qualification, I don't know what's available to you, but definitely would recommend tapping. Tapping is a fantastic thing if you need to have a qualification. But even if you don't, then the Ortner family are a fantastic family. That I think they're called the tapping something. I can't remember. But the Ortner family, Jessica, Alex, and I feel bad for forgetting the other brother. But the tapping guys, and they're all American. They're wonderful, wonderful people. The other thing is just learning to teach people how to stay with their feelings. Is to just stay, breathe, feel where they're sitting, feel where they're lying or standing. Notice what they can see and hear, and teach them. Because there's only ever 6 things going on at any one time. The 5 senses that we think of, the smell, taste, touch, sight, and sound, and thought. There's only ever that going on. And if we can learn to come back to what's actually going on right now, what evidence do I have that I'm here? What can I see and hear? What can I taste and smell? What can I feel externally and internally? What am I thinking? That's enough. That's enough. Because after that, you're adding technique to whatever you want to calm yourself. But if you can keep reminding your body that it's here, the vast majority of us do not live in danger. And we can be reminded right now, I'm not in danger. And that can be enough. And if you are in danger, that gives you the tapping solution. Thank you so much, Jennifer. If you are in danger, you've just given yourself more wherewithal to move away from that danger or towards that danger to fight it. If you actually are aware that you are here. Yes. Right. And all feelings are feelings. They're fine. They're happening. It's reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Jessica Lynn says no qualification, just interested in learning.
Yeah. That's it. That would be, so, the Buddhist in me is always going to go to that. But any awareness that we can develop is the key, because from there you will probably find you do know what to do. But if you're not aware, you're dissociative. You can't do anything if you're not in the building. It'll come back into the building, into the body, and you probably will know. Okay. And mindfulness is a word that's bandied around a lot, but awareness is just keep it simple. Can you be aware? Can you notice what's actually going on?
Yeah. I love that. Awareness and abiding. Like what do I feel in my heart? What do I feel in my throat? What do I feel in my solar plexus? What is going on here?
Yeah, exactly. And then the next thing is asking then, Jessica, saying to your client, well, now that you know that, what do you need? What do you need? What would you like to happen? Where are you at? And if they say, I don't know, that's fine. Just stay with them and say, I'm staying with you. Keep telling me what you notice. Is your breathing still shallow? Is there still tension in your body? Just keep asking. Get them to kind of narrate where they're at. And then they'll go, wow, it's starting to shift. There it is. Your witness to watching it happening. These are really useful
Whaps
WHAP.
upside the head. I think it's like, bam.
Oh, yeah. This is great. No, fantastic. It's honestly forever all the qualifications and the techniques, but really we've so much knowledge, but we can't access it if we don't actually stay present.
Remembering. And I think we're all starting to remember, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially the more aware we are of what we're feeling. Yeah. Stay with them. Right, Morella?
Yeah.
So love this. So tell me this. I know we're getting towards the end, but sometimes in meditation, I'll find that shaking and that kind of like a bolt of lightning that comes through. So, and do you feel like that is the body releasing, or is that the body receiving?
It's a great question, and honestly, I'm studying a little bit of Eileen McCusick's work now. The body electric, and she does her tuning forks, and this whole idea of having our energy field is always moving and changing out of tune, in tune, all this kind of stuff. And so I like to think about the fact that really what's happening is we're constantly reorganizing, we're constantly retuning in and out of tune. So rather than thinking, and even with illness now, I don't think of illness as sickness or anything. I don't even know that contagion is even a thing. It's just energy enters our field and leaves our field, and enters our field and leaves our field. And the better that we can get at allowing the energy to come in and deciding which bits we want to hang on to and which bits we want to let go, we just detoxing and cleansing all the time. And deciding what it is we want to hang on to and what we want to let go of. So, I just think there's movement all the time going on. And those surges that come through, they're amazing. And it's just that the more we can cleanse and let go, the clearer we are, the easier it is to be present, the easier it is to think, the easier it is to tune in, the easier it is to filter who we're around. All the time. Notice, how do we feel around certain people, around certain foods, thoughts? The more we can notice, the more we make better choices about how we want to be in the world. But it is keeping the system clean, energetically, food-wise, whatever makes sense to you. But yeah, is it coming in or is it going out? Both, both. And just in being along for the ride, like, who am I today? Woo, and it's just so cool to do that and to prep. I will prep before I'm out with these 10 women tonight, because I will be very overwhelmed at some point if I didn't, because it's a lot of energy entering my energy field. Being in a restaurant with 10 people I know and everybody else, I'll have to get myself clean by then to keep the filtering going while I'm in their company, and then again when I come home.
So what will you do to do that, Shara?
I will concentrate. So that's the main thing for me, is that I keep concentrating on myself. So I'll put space. Space is a big thing for me. So I'll put some space between what we've done here, and then when I go and visit a friend in a little while, and breathing and tapping in the car as I go through, looking around me, and then I'm with her, and I'll concentrate when I'm with her. And then afterwards, I'll put space between the next thing. So I keep putting space between them to keep coming down again after I've gone up. Down again after I've come up. That's the thing, is to just keep being aware and catching, as I said before, as early as I can, that overwhelming feeling. Yeah. Because it's just like eating. If I went all day without eating, that wouldn't go well for me. And if I ate all day, that wouldn't go well for me. So keep checking what is that I need to keep an eye on myself. But the space thing between things is a great thing that I've learned. How you doing? You all right? Because we always have the option to change our mind.
Yeah. Sonia, everybody's Shara's saying thank you so much for being here. Please come back soon. This is also helpful. So, well, really thank you and so much. And I have Sharon's Shara's website up here. So, you do a lot online, don't you?
I do a lot online, absolutely. Because it works. It works online. It's lovely face to face, of course, and I plan to come visit you one of these days. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I do absolutely work online because at the end of the day, I want to be teaching people skills, not just for it to be about trauma release, because otherwise we just keep creating trauma to release it. But actually giving the skills to go about living the life that you want to live, to be happy and relaxed and have that the choice to enjoy whatever is happening. To me, the definition of happiness is accepting what is, not wishing it was different.
Isn't that so true, to be there at that moment?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because when I'm really struggling, I remind myself that there's people on death row who are innocent and they don't know
Yeah.
at which point that they're going to be murdered for their innocence, and they manage to be happy somehow. So can I in my domestic bliss and having a bit of a hard day, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's all about having the skills to accept life as it is, not wishing it was different.
Aw. Jennifer says, "Thank you, having chills throughout this."
Oh,
Beautiful, Jennifer. Beautiful.
thank you,
Well,
Jennifer.
yeah, thank you so much for being on, Shara. We really loved having you.
I loved
So,
being here. It's so lovely. You're a gorgeous lot. What a lovely thing to be interacting with more than one person. I absolutely love it. As shy as I am, I love this. So thank you.
it is fun, isn't it?
It is fun
Well,
being around the right people. So,
maybe you need a YouTube channel, Shara.
oh, if I knew what I was doing, maybe. Yes, I'm not technically savvy, but amongst my group, there will be people who'll help me for sure. And
Yeah.
it is all happening. It's just timing now, I think, for the next
Yeah.
step. I am.
Yeah, well, come back here anytime you want because we loved
Yeah, oh,
having you.
thank you. Thank you. I've loved it. And it's been lovely to be so welcomed. It's very, very nice to be included. I absolutely love it. Thank you all so very much.
Yeah, thanks everybody for being here, and, I hope to see everybody Sunday. I'll be on Intuitive View's channel, and I think that's at 4 or 5 Central. So, anyway, everybody have a great day. Namaste. Our light sees your
Namaste.
light.
Namaskar. Bye.